How's it going, guys? Today we're going to talk about gear. Now I know you guys have wanted me to do this video for a long time and I'm really stoked to do it. We're going to walk through my entire travel filmmaking kit. This is kind of geared towards somebody that's lightweight, run and gun, and they're shooting stuff on the fly. So a lot of the bigger items that I have aren't going to make it into this video because they don't typically come with me on most projects. This is the bag that I take basically with me everywhere, and these are the essential items that I bring. So let's check it out. All right, first up, let's talk about my camera bag. So this is the Wandered Provoke, and they make a smaller one and a larger one, but I've tried so many bags over the years. This is the only bag I've ever used that I really love. I've tried the in-case one, I've tried some from Low Pro that were okay, but this bag, not only does it look pretty rad and have this cool kind of hipster style, it's also super versatile and it kind of checks all the boxes that I typically want. For example, it's got this side zippered pouch here so I can get my camera out very easily. It's got a roll top, which is pretty rad, so I can unroll this guy and I can stuff stuff in the top, which is pretty rad, so it can get pretty full. And it's got pouches, like zippered compartments everywhere. There's a zippered compartment here, there's a compartment here. It's got a thing on the side. I can attach a water bottle. I can attach my little Gorilla Pod. It's got a front pocket here. There's also a rain protector I can add to it, which is pretty rad. The back also fully opens, so I can access all my different parts. So the top up here is a section I can throw small things, chargers, battery packs. This section zips up entirely on its own. And then there's a section down here at the bottom that I can put stuff in as well. So I can organize it however I want to. And it also has, on the back here, it has a laptop compartment. So this bag is epic. I can also attach my camera to this Peak Design thing on the shoulder strap here so I can snap my camera on and off pretty quickly while I'm out doing stuff. So yeah, absolutely love this bag. Highly, highly recommended. Go check these guys out. They started things on Kickstarter and now they're killing it making these sick bags. So definitely go check these guys out. Up next, I have the Phantom 4. You guys have heard me talk about my Phantom before. Yeah, this is the Phantom 4. This isn't the Pro. The Pro looks pretty sick, but I haven't upgraded to that yet. I'm deciding between the Phantom 4 Pro and the Mavic. What do you guys think? 4 Pro or Mavic? The stuff I've seen from the 4 Pro looks pretty sick, like super high quality, but I'm just tired of carrying this thing around. Like lugging this around and traveling internationally is getting really freaking old. So anyways, Phantom 4. I also have the ND filters on it. Like I told you guys before, this is a polarizer right now, but NDs too, super important. So yep, Phantom 4 for now, potentially Mavic soon. Tripods. I've used some cheap tripods and now I have this guy, which isn't super expensive, but it's a lot better than the crappy ones. So I usually strap this to the side of my bag. It's pretty light and I can get some rad time-lapse shots, or if I'm on a trip by myself and I need myself to be in the video, I can set it up and be in my own shots as well. All right, let's jump over now and check out what's inside my camera bag and all the different lenses and things I typically use on each shoot. This is the Sony 24-70 f4. f4, not the 2.8, because it's so much lighter. The 2.8 is massive, and this little guy is so much more compact. I can carry it around with me, and for basic run and gun stuff, this lens is amazing. I know if you dig into the weeds and you look at DxO mark, you'll see that this lens doesn't perform nearly as well as some of the others, but you know what? For versatility, this lens is great. It fits on my stabilizer, and yeah, it's a pretty solid lens and definitely one of my go-tos in my lineup. So here's another lens I picked up recently. This is the Sony FE 50mm 1.8. Now this guy produces pretty great results. However, the autofocus is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. They came out with the firmware update, but it's still not very good. Maybe for pictures, but for video, I'm just not a huge fan. I use object tracking a lot when I'm on my Sony on my stabilizer, and this guy just can't keep up. It's a fairly affordable lens. I want to say it's around 200 or 250 US dollars, but my recommendation probably, unless you're looking for a budget lens, is to make a step up to the 55mm Sony lens and spend a few extra $100 and get a better lens, or perhaps look into like the Rokinon or one of the other third-party lenses. So the lens I'm currently using right here is the Sony 28mm FE, and it is hands down one of my favorite lenses. I highly recommend it. I want to say it's around $400 US, and it's basically one of my go-to lenses for any type of run and gun project. So if you have the Sony 28mm lens, you can buy these little adapters. This is the ultra wide converter, and basically it turns the 28mm into a 21mm lens. So this back screws off, and then this would screw onto the front of the lens. I'm using the lens right now so I can't show you, but essentially it looks something like this. It screws onto the front, so then basically you'd have a 21mm lens. It's a pretty good little setup, and you know what? I use this a lot for vlogging. As you can see, there's no threads in the front of it, so I can't screw on an ND filter. But for vlogging, this thing is pretty great. I'll be able to run around with my 28mm lens on, get some cool cinematic shots, and then quickly screw this on the front, vlog a little bit, and then put this back in my pocket. Here's another converter lens that I just picked up recently, and I'm not quite sure how much I love this one yet. This one was around $300 US. This is a Sony fisheye converter. Now this screws onto the front of the 28mm as well, just like the other one, and it's supposed to turn it from a 28mm lens into a 16mm lens. Now from basic usage and testing a little bit, it looks like there's a pretty big fisheye effect, and it looks a lot like a GoPro. So if it looks too much like a GoPro, I'd probably check into the Sony 16-35 and potentially get that instead. This seems pretty self-explanatory. It's a little air blaster for the camera. With mirrorless cameras, I've noticed that there is tons of dust and particles that get on the sensor all the time, and it's super annoying. I've had so many shoots where I feel like I'm getting epic shots, and then I get back and I see gnarly crap all over the sensor, and I get so pissed off. So this is in my bag pretty much at all times, and I try to use it every single time I switch my lenses. This next item is my best friend and my worst enemy. This is a variable ND filter by Aurora Aperture called the PowerX ND 2000. I typically hate these things, but I did tons and tons of research online, and I finally came across this guy who's in California that makes these things. And this is one of the strongest variable ND filters I've ever used, and it is incredible. I love this thing. I have one for every lens on my camera, and it is really great. It doesn't really have any tint from what I could see, and it also doesn't really have a very strong X. I think the X pattern might lightly still be there, but this is hands down by far the best ND filter I've ever used. So if you haven't gotten one of these for your camera yet, or if you have a crappy one and you're looking to get a nicer one, highly, highly, highly recommend this company. You guys should definitely go check this one out. So I absolutely love this microphone. I've got this thing recently, and it was about $70 or $80 maybe, and it's really small. The reason I like it is because it's tiny, and normally when I'm like doing small projects, travel filmmaking or vlogging, I don't really want to carry around a big audio setup. Now, I wouldn't recommend this on a bigger project. Then I would use nicer audio equipment, which I have. But this is kind of like for the lightweight travel filmmaker setup where you just want good quality audio, but you don't want to go through the hassle of changing out a 9-volt battery when you're in rural, you know, Turkey or something like that. You know, this guy doesn't need a battery, it just pulls power from the camera, and the results from this thing are pretty dang good. I was surprised. So it comes with a dead cat. You can screw it on the front, and yeah, it's a compact little setup, and it delivers pretty awesome audio. So after doing a bunch of research, I found that this is my favorite neck strap. This is from a company called Peak Design, and it has this clip-on, clip-off system where I basically leave these little dongles on my camera, and this allows me to snap on and snap off both the neck strap and a wrist strap very quickly. So if you have the camera on a stabilizer or on a tripod and you want to take off the wrist strap or your neck strap, you literally just push in here, snap it off, and it'll come off entirely. So they have a bunch of different models, and this is definitely one of my favorite wrist straps and camera accessories that I found recently. This is a pretty rad little gadget I got lately. This is for the iPhone 6, 6S, 7, not the Plus models, but the smaller phones. This thing basically doubles your battery life. So my phone dies all the time while I'm traveling because I'm using Google Maps and I'm using my phone to talk on WhatsApp and whatnot. This thing basically allows my phone to slide in, and this will basically double my power and my battery life. And the great part about it is it uses the same iPhone jack, so I don't have to use, like on the Mofis and other ones, I don't have to use the USB plug or anything. It's all the same plug. So it even shows you when you swipe down the battery life of the iPhone and the case, so you always know how much power you have. So this is a little wallet for my ND filters. It opens up and it holds about 4, and I've stacked a couple of them so it fits a few more, but Yeah, I kind of like to experiment with the filters, graduated ND filters, polarizers. I've gotten a few over the years and I kind of just like to play with them. So yeah, this is a cool little wallet that'll hold all those guys together. So this is a power pack from Amazon Basics. This guy is big. I think it's 16,000 milliamps. It's pretty strong. This one isn't anything special. However, this thing lasts forever. I've been able to charge up my phone, my iPad mini, a bunch of things while I'm traveling, and the price wasn't that bad. It also charges up my camera. So this thing can really charge up pretty much anything in my bag. So I keep this guy fully charged at all times and I toss it in my bag, and it's definitely a nice little gadget to have. So that's what's currently in my camera bag right now. I might make some changes going forward. I'm really leaning towards getting a Mavic. That thing is just so light. I've seen some friends that have flown it and they just pull it out of their bag. It almost fits in their pocket. They just yank it out and fire it up and take off, and it's like, carrying this thing around internationally, for those of you guys who have drones know that lugging this thing around through customs and on airplanes and stuff, it gets old really fast. I always love the shots. Like, drone shots are always epic, but just carrying that thing around is just exhausting. And if I had a small little guy that probably could pop into the top of my Wandered Provoke bag, I feel like that could be pretty clutch. I also might buy the Sony 55mm 1.8 lens because I really want to have faster autofocus, and I think it'll be better for the Zhiyun crane. I think I might also purchase the Sony 16-35 f4. The 16mm fisheye converter I was hoping would look pretty good, but it just looks too GoPro-y to me. I don't think I'm gonna use it. So I might end up selling that guy, and then I might end up picking up the Sony 16-35. I feel like the Sony 16-35, the 28mm, and the 55mm would be a pretty rad little setup. I don't use telephoto lenses too often, so you probably noticed I didn't have one of those, but maybe in the future, who knows. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm gonna make videos like this more often. For those of you who are new, I'm a travel filmmaker living in Los Angeles, and sometimes I put out behind the scenes content on what I'm shooting with and stuff, like this video, and other times I'm showing you kind of personal travel stories from on the road, whether it be in India, Indonesia, Germany, Costa Rica, a bunch of different places. So it really means a lot that you're watching, so please subscribe, and if you haven't already, go check me out on Instagram, Mike_Dewey, and I will see you guys later. Bye.